under the radar, as have these free agents, which is why they have remained unsigned so far. Evan Sittery put out a list of the best remaining free agents. The Sacramento Kings do have the ability to bring in one more rostered player. They can either hold on to that roster spot as they've done in the past and keep it for trade flexibility, or they can, of course, add another player, or maybe even, we've talked with Boogie Ellis. Isaiah Crawford was on the station earlier, even though he's on a two-way already. The Kings can definitely use that final roster spot to sign somebody who gets a training camp invite and doesn't have a full season contract. But Brendan, I'm curious, and feel free to stop me as you hear a name that maybe interests you. But let's go down Evan Sittery's best remaining free agents, starting first and foremost with one Isaac Okoro, who is restricted. And I believe, Brendan, I don't know if you've seen, but I'm pretty sure that there is some smoke with Isaac Okoro right now and where he might go. Does Isaac Okoro, not in general for him with the Kings, but specifically, actually a sign and trade, I'm seeing it right here, why the Nets, Cavs, Isaac Okoro sign and trade fell through. So apparently he is back to being available. But what are your thoughts on Isaac Okoro? I know Whitey is really high on Isaac Okoro coming into the league out of Auburn, if I'm not mistaken. He was kind of thought as a 3-and-D player, more so with the emphasis on the defense. Are you an Isaac Okoro fan?
I am a big Isaac Okoro guy.
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, to be honest, at the time of the draft, that was probably the draft that I dug the most into. If I'm remembering right, this is the Tyrese Halliburton draft. It may have also been like 1 year, give or take, in either direction.
2020. Yep, it was. In fact.
Yeah, and he's 4 years into the league now. This guy is 23, still fairly young. 6'5", with a 6'8" wingspan that he's listed as. And to be honest, I had him at number 2 on my board.
Wow.
At the time of the draft, and saw a lot of Andre Iguodala in there, where there is obviously he's got a solid build to him at a young age already. I think sometimes being as a somewhat skinnier dude myself, it's easier to look a little bit more defined, I guess, in a way. But I think that Isaac Okoro definitely has a build that makes you think that there is some sense of strength and physicality to go along with, again, 6'5", 6'8" wingspan there. And again, at a fairly young age, I think the playmaking was really interesting on the offensive end. But during his time in the NBA, he's been left about as wide open as you will see throughout the league, and kind of struggled to knock it down at times. Now, you look at last year, 39.1% from 3 on 3.1 attempts per game. Sounds great. A very large majority of those, again, wide open. Like wide open to the point that you never see.
Like Draymond wide open.
Yeah, Draymond wide
standing
open,
in the paint.
Except he doesn't look like he's got a backpack on while he's shooting, which makes me a little bit more encouraged about the potential there. So I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
But through 4 years now, we're talking about 34.7% from 3 on a total of 757 attempts from beyond the arc. So that sounds fine to me. And I think it would be very, very difficult for Sacramento to reach a price to get this guy, considering he's a restricted free agent. But he's kind of as close as it gets in my mind to remaining guys that would perfectly fill the void that you're kind of looking for. Almost an upgraded KZ Okpala, Kessler Edwards, Mo Harkless, the defensive guys that you're really trying to fill on this Kings roster at the forward position.
Brendan, I'm going to go through the rest of the names and just say yes or no if they intrigue you, and then we can talk about some of your yeses when we're through the list. Markelle Fultz, does he intrigue you? Not necessarily for the Kings, but just maybe as a conversation point.
Yeah, good player, not for the Kings. Got enough card.
Lonnie Walker.
Again, not quite big enough from the Kings' perspective.
Cedi Osman.
I do like Cedi Osman. Interesting to me.
Cool. Talen Horton-Tucker.
I also think there's some interest there, Young.
Dennis Smith Jr.
I like Dennis Smith on teams, not the Kings.
O'Shea Brissett, NBA champion O'Shea Brissett.
That's fine to me. Also, great
Okay.
TikToker.
Doug McBucket. Kind of good YouTube channel too. Don't sleep.
He does.
Doug
Yes, I
McBucket.
like Doug McDermott. Shares an agent with played with Domas before. Shares an agent with Kevin Herter. I like Doug McDermott.
Jay Crowder.
Yeah, his fall off was very
Today's
rapid
Jay
for
Crowder.
me. Yeah, I love Jay Crowder. I still would say yes, I think.
Wasn't expecting that. Marcus Morris.
Our guy Alan Styles would love this. I would go yes.
Oh wow, I still can't differentiate the two. They not Allen and Marcus Morris, but Marcus and Markeith. Rob Covington. This is my guy.
Yeah, I would also say yes. I'm just going to add that I think for a lot of these, we're also talking about second string, eighth or ninth guy.
I think all of these guys were talking pretty much
Absolutely.
8th or 9th guy. And finally, Davis Bertans.
I wouldn't mind it. Feels a little repetitive with Trey Lyles.
Okay, now I have your yeses and I have your nos. You tell me which ones you are specifically interested from a Kings perspective. So you had a yes on Markelle Fultz. Do you have a yes on that from a Kings perspective?
I do not. I think there are enough guards. I know he has a little more size. I thought this man was about to be the truth when he came out of Washington, just like everybody did. And then injuries or whatever you may want to call it with whatever the heck Philadelphia may have done to him doesn't do it for me with the Kings.
For sure. Jetty Osman, does that get you going for the Kings?
That actually does. I don't think he's the same. There's not the same hype when he was when LeBron James was inviting that man to workouts and everything. But I think that's interesting to me. You need wing forward size for the Kings, and he's a playable guy. You can give him 12 minutes a night.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. He's the name on this list that I think feels the most realistic and the most plug and play. Like I could see Jetty Osman actually getting some good minutes for the Kings if he were to come here after some time. Talen Horton-Tucker, yes in general, but is it a yes for the Kings? And I think I saw a report the other day that Talen Horton-Tucker said he has received no interest from NBA teams.
Right? Jeez, from NBA teams as a whole is crazy. I would still say yes. It's also insane to me that this guy was so hyped up and the Lakers refused.
What if I told you he's 23 years old?
I would believe it, actually. I would still say yes for the Kings. Again, like you said with Chetty, I think that anybody that we could think would be able to give you even 10 minutes a night is going to be a yes for me. And I think that THT qualifies.
This is from friend of the show, Brett Siegel. He wrote, Talen Horton-Tucker is reportedly still looking for, quote, a real offer in free agency. He reported on Thursday, Brett Siegel did, that the guard, quote, hasn't received any real offers from NBA teams and could instead generate interest from European clubs. Siegel listed the Dallas Mavericks as a team that was thought to be interested in Horton-Tucker, but has since added Spencer Dinwiddie. So definitely interesting to not hear Talen Horton-Tucker's phone ring at all. Again, only 23 years old and has definitely, I think regardless of what you might think about his actual game, he's had a lot of stat stuffing nights where he's had some triple doubles and has really looked promising at different points throughout his career. So definitely interesting to see Talen Horton-Tucker not receiving any interest. O'Shea Brissett, I'm going to be honest, Brendan, most of the things I know about O'Shea Brissett are vibes based. I don't really know much about his game. Do you like O'Shea Brissett for the on the court product for the Sacramento Kings?
He interests me as a body, like a Kessler Edwards sort of guy. But I will tell you, I have some Celtics related friends that I may have heard from one of them last year that, similar things to what I heard from Goga Bitadze a few years ago, that man may be the worst player in the league. So
fun,
maybe not the brightest star, I guess I would say, but I also think the Kings need bodies and he kind of fills that.
Well, they already have Jalen McDaniels, so I don't know if they need two of the worst players in the NBA. Doug McDermott, I'm going to answer this one for you. I think this is an absolute yes, and I'm honestly shocked it hasn't happened.
I think the same. I like him better than Davis Bertans, and I think that they fill a similar role. But I think the movement, shooting, being able to come off DHOs, not need to square your hips before you shoot, and just have that sort of spacing that you provide to a team, even if you're not bringing that much defensively. I think there's something there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you made the point to be made is that he has a previous relationship with Domantas Sabonis in Indiana, and he does have a relationship with Kevin Huerter. I believe it was a Zach Lowe interview a couple years ago where Kevin Huerter said the first thing I did when I got traded to Sacramento was ask Doug McDermott what it's like to play with Sabonis. And I believe Kevin said that Doug just had absolutely nothing but incredible things to say and was like, you're going to get the most open looks you've ever gotten in your entire career. So the second I heard that was said by Doug McDermott, I pretty much made note of it and said, well, this is just going to happen. So like I said, I'm pretty surprised that nothing's happened yet. And I'm going to group these next guys together. You mentioned Davis Bertans, so we won't get to him. But I think these three guys are all kind of clumped in a, well, yeah, I definitely no question would have done that 5 years ago. I don't know about now. Jay Crowder, Marcus Morris, Rob Covington. Do you have any quick thoughts on them and their potential fit with the King?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all fine. I think that Robert Covington may catch my eye a little bit more than the others just because
Same.
he had some history of even being a little bit of a rim protector of
You
sorts.
look at the stocks from that guy, there was a lot of seasons where he had 3+ steals and blocks.
Yeah, and I'll say if you go back and look at some of the Kings' recent draft guys, stocks are a
Huge.
commonality between some of those guys. So he may interest me more than others, but I kind of think all of them have some value. They've been on championship contending teams as well. Even if they played 0 minutes, they have experience. And I think that the Kings could use a few more vets in that room as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point because especially with JaVale McGee out the door, I believe Alex Len is currently the oldest player on the Kings roster. I'll have to double check that. But yeah, last year, I believe Sasha, HB, and JaVale were all the oldest players. And all of them are now gone. So that is definitely an interesting note and maybe something that we can continue to track as the King. Oh, DeMar. DeMar is now the oldest King. With him, of course, happy birthday, DeMar, being 35 years old. And then, yeah, next closest is Alex Len. So definitely might be looking to add a bit of a veteran presence, but we'll see about that. We will not be talking anything veteran when it comes to Isaiah Crawford, the Kings' newest player. They're 2